Welcome to Improvement Science in a Minute. I'm Brandon Bennett, and today we'll be continuing our exploration of process maps, a key tool for understanding systems. In this session, we will examine how to add various analyses to a process map, and how to use the tool in practice to improve a system. Remember, process maps often employ a common set of symbols to communicate what is happening at a given step in the process. These common symbols are standardized to help teams read and use the process mapping tool. To learn more about these symbols and how to use them, please see our module, Introduction to Process Maps. Process maps are a tool for creating a window into the day-to-day work of systems. They are useful for all kinds of processes, from those occurring in classrooms, to those practiced by administration, to financial, maintenance, support, and even data processes. In our first session on process maps, we focused on how to visualize a process map, with special emphasis on using the tool to discover the current design of processes in your system. In this session, we move a step further, exploring how adding analysis can create a useful and effective window into why we see the results we do from our processes. Analysis is all about adding detail useful for understanding, managing, and improving the system. A note of caution here. Seeing a process visualized and analyzed for the first time often leads teams to ideas for how to improve the process, and there is a danger in jumping right into the implementation of those ideas. While teams should capture their ideas for how to improve, they should also maintain a stance of disciplined inquiry, learning and practice about the utility of the ideas they generate prior to full-scale implementation. One way to do this is to use the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle. We cover this method in another session, and we encourage teams to continue this series to learn more. Once a team has a process map, they're ready to add detailed analysis. I encourage you to pause for a moment to review the supporting handout. It contains 10 useful questions whose answers create the window we need into the work of a process. Some examples of the questions include: how long does the process take? Who performs each step in the process? Are the steps of the process in the ideal order? Welcome back. Thinking further about the 10 questions from our handout, each step and the moments between steps offer an opportunity to apply them in practice. The data collected creates valuable insight into performance. Often the data can also serve as a test for equity in this part of the system, as we will see in a future example. Consider this process for the creation and administration of an exam by a classroom teacher. The teacher might choose to collect data to answer important learning questions. Things like how long it takes to create an exam. This could be meaningful to an instructor who needs to create many exams and has limited time and resources. Or the number of items requiring regrading. This could help an instructor refine their rubric or indicate a need for further development on exam building. They might collect data on how long it takes to grade the exams to understand the out-of-classroom teacher time needed to assess student progress. And they might calculate an average exam score to help them develop evidence for learning by students. If they group their students in the analysis of their data, they might also discover any inequities present in the classroom, perhaps uncovering an unknown bias for or against a group of students in how the exam was written. Each step and the moments between steps offers an opportunity to collect data and create insight into performance. Let's look at a quick case where the use of data connected to a process could help a team understand issues of equity in their school. This data comes directly from the California School Dashboard created by the California Department of Education. The process we'll be looking at is the suspension process for a high school. This particular high school has 2,511 students. 7.7% of students were suspended at least one time in 2019. The California Department of Education can only confer a status of green if the suspension rate is less than or equal to 3%. Looking at their California School Dashboard, the school may want to ask how large is the equity gap in suspensions between two groups of students. Here's their data. While there is work to be done at the school to reduce suspensions overall, it appears there is work to be done to improve the equity with which the suspension process is applied. Hispanic students seem to, quote, experience the average, while students with disabilities seem to be suspended at a rate 3 to 4 times as high. The equity gap points to a process problem. The suspension process is exhibiting unwanted and unfair variation. Creating and examining the process map for suspensions on campus might provide key insights into why this variation exists. It might even inspire change ideas about what could be done to reduce such variation, from changing the process to providing supports for students disproportionately affected by it. Let's pause for a moment. Think about the system you would like to improve. Can you identify one or two processes that make up the day-to-day of the system? What learning questions do you have for these processes? Examples might be, how long does the process take? How many mistakes are made? Who does well or who does not? Where in the process do things pile up or become bottlenecked? Is there an equity lens you could apply to your questions? For example, who experiences this process differently? Is it different for people from different races, ages, genders, or orientations? If it is, how big is the difference? Welcome back. When we consider the use of process maps as part of an improvement journey, we typically think of using them for one of these three reasons. 1. To build knowledge about the current state of things. To learn how things work right now. 2. To redesign an existing process or to design a new process, recognizing and attending to a need our system has for the process not yet or poorly described. 3. To standardize work because of a recognition of unwanted variation in practice across our systems. Let's examine each in turn. Building knowledge about the current design of the system is perhaps the most valuable reason to create a process map. Without a current understanding about what is, teams often experience work as variable and arbitrary. They may not know exactly who does what or in what order things occur. Creating a process map can clarify understanding. Such logical thinking combined with analysis often inspires ideas about how to change a process to improve it. Often, after using a process map to understand the current state, a team will want to work on redesigning that process to make it more successful. Visualizing the redesign as a process map provides a roadmap for what changes will be needed and how activities could be different in the future. The new design will be tried and refined in practice, but each iteration can be used to update the process map, finally arriving at a codified version of what works to deliver the desired outcome. In this example, a teacher wanting to incorporate stronger practices around socio-emotional learning decided to encourage students to correct their mistakes on exams and resubmit them to increase their grades, a practice known to build growth mindset in students. This meant redesigning the grading process to incorporate this new practice. Let's take a closer look. In this redesign, 4 new steps have been added to the process map to reflect the incorporation of socio-emotional learning methods. In some instances, a team focused on improving outcomes may uncover a need for a process that has not previously existed as part of their system. Similar to the redesign of an existing process, a process map can be used to visualize what a new process could look like. Sometimes a process map can be helpful in removing unwanted variation in practice from a system. Returning to the example of suspensions, a district like the one presented might be concerned that the process of suspending seems to disproportionately affect some student groups, like homeless children and children of color, in a negative way. Rather than relying purely on the individual judgment of administrators, the district might consider creating a process map for a standard suspension process, used by all administrators and designed to ensure parity in application to different student groups. Process maps are useful in many ways, from building understanding through analysis to designing or redesigning the system to reducing unwanted variation. Let's pause again to consider how you might use a process map within your organization or improvement work. Where or what is a process you want to learn more about? Is there a process you know needs redesign? Where do you experience unwanted variation in outcomes that could benefit from some standard work practices? Welcome back. Using process maps can be very insightful for improvement teams. Remember this useful 4-step process for using process maps effectively. First, map the current process, if there is one. Second, annotate the process with important details the team is aware of. Third, analyze the process using our 10 questions for analysis as a guide. And fourth, redesign the process using PDSA cycles to try things in practice prior to making permanent changes. Also, consider some of our other content on the topics of improvement science, all available on the System Improvement Leads website. Until next time, thanks so much. The Improvement Science in a Minute web module series is brought to you by the SELPA System Improvement Leads project in partnership with Improvement Science Consulting. The SIL project is a collaboration grant between El Dorado County Office of Education SELPA, West San Gabriel Valley SELPA, and Riverside County SELPA. The SIL project is supported by the California Department of Education and the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence. The SELPA System Improvement Leads project seeks to increase positive outcomes for students with disabilities by inspiring special education local plan areas, or SELPAs, and local education agencies, or LEAs, to engage in a culture of continuous improvement. The SIL team is committed to connecting SELPAs and LEAs throughout the state to resources with a focus on data use and governance, continuous improvement methodologies, and high leverage practices. We are innovating with equity in mind to promote excellent educational outcomes for each and every student.